Well, hello everyone. Uh, as you saw in the preview for this, I got my new teeth. Well, I've had them for a while. I just couldn't put them in my mouth. But I'm going to try to get through this with them in. We'll see how well that goes. So today, well, a lot of things have gone on this week. Vineyard chicks. I'm still counting after all this time. That was awesome. I really appreciate your video. Anybody in the chat here, if you haven't seen the Vineyard Chicks latest video, you owe it to yourself to go and see it. They did a really, really good job parroting I'm Still Standing using Will It Grow. So, well, I don't know if I can sing. I can carry a tune, but I need a wheelbarrow. I almost didn't go live tonight because over on Believe on the Cross at his channel, they are doing Godfest 2021. And tonight, J&L Ministries is preaching. But I wanted to try doing the live here tonight. I thought I'd use you as guinea pigs to see if I could actually get through this with teeth in my mouth. So we're going to see how that goes. I feel relatively preoccupied with them, so we'll see if I can get over that. A lot has happened this week, Sandy, as some of you know. Hello, Jandera. As some of you know, Sandy was in the hospital this week. She went in for hernia surgery. And when she was coming out of the anesthesia, she had a respiratory complication. She couldn't breathe. And so we stayed in the hospital for some time. We went home that night, but she is now, well, she's been having this breathing issue for a while, and she's getting it checked out with some specialists. And so keep her in your prayers. She's healing, she's doing well, but we're a little concerned. Hello, Tinkerer's wife. Thank you for stopping by. But I do want to remind you and promote to you that we are doing Godfest 2021, and we've extended it to 2 weeks. So tonight, as I said, J&L Ministries is speaking. I don't recall who's speaking tomorrow night, but I will be speaking on Saturday night. And if you get a chance to come over, it's Believe on the Cross Ministries. And I will be speaking about the evidence to support my faith and why I'm a Christian based on the evidence, not based on emotion, but based on the evidence. And so tonight is kind of a dry run on my denture to see if I can actually talk with it in. Hello, my Alabama farm life. Welcome to the live. And let's see, Tinker's wife, I said hello. Gender, I said, I think I've got everybody. The other thing we did this week, we are in the middle of a really bad drought. Gail Southern Living, hello. We're in the middle of a really bad drought. I have everything on irrigation, but because we normally get a lot of precipitation in the spring of the year, it's something I wasn't worried about, and so I didn't hook it up. I've got it run through the field, but I didn't hook it to a header. So I've been working on that as I've had time. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate that. Bob says, hey, John, the teeth look beautiful. Hope you keep the beard and mustache trimmed away. Oh, That's actually from Tanya. Well, Tanya, the beard is coming back, and it's going to come back in full. I miss it a lot. I cry myself to sleep at night because I've got nothing to, well. So anyway, Tinker's wife says driest spring here in Oregon since 1938. My goodness. Yeah, I don't know the statistics here. I've kind of stopped watching the news, and my main reason for not watching the news is that I just get terribly frustrated with what's going on in our country. And I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be political, but I had to stop watching the news. It was very difficult for me. So, but yeah, we're really dry. So I've run irrigation on my cabbage. I've never done that before. And of course, well, tonight I irrigated the pumpkins. We have to irrigate the onions, that always. And this year I'm going to put water on the potatoes. Hopefully I'll get it on tomorrow. I've never done that before. But I've done a tremendous amount of weeding. Actually, you'll see in the video, hopefully this Sunday, the potatoes, I think they're as weedless as I've ever had them. Now, the onions I'm having some issues with. Jules Small Gardening, welcome to the live. I miss you. I don't see you as much as I used to. For some reason, I don't get notifications, and I forget to look. So I appreciate you stopping by, Jules. Let's see. Mary, Tulsa Fox, welcome. I imagine you're out in your truck somewhere, driving across the country, bringing food to the hungry. And thank you for that. So, otherwise in the garden, we're getting ready to plant all our peppers. I've got tomatoes planted in the greenhouse, or the hoop house, but I don't have any plastic on. So I planted some carrots in a raised bed in the hoop house, and they're doing phenomenally well. I've been able to put a lot of water on them, so that helps a lot. And Jules, the okra is looking pretty good. I'm going to probably plant that. I was going to keep it in containers, but I think I'm going to put it in the ground. It's hard to keep the containers watered, so I'm probably going to put them in the ground. Yeah, Jandera, for me, this is a big year of firsts. So, especially in the garden, we normally, I have a pump to dewater the fields, because normally I'm trying to pump water off of our field. And this year, I'm desperately trying to get enough water on. You perhaps remember the video that I did where I was planting my Hubbard squash, and I put the buckets over the top. Normally that works out really well, but this year I regret doing it. I'm going to have to replant my Hubbard squash. By putting the buckets over, the seeds did hatch out, or germinate, but they got really leggy, and then when I got the covers off, I couldn't get enough water on them, and they dried off. And what happens is, right at the point of elongation, which is the joint between the stems, or the shoots and the roots, that little point is where the cells multiply in the plant, and then those cells get distributed. They're indeterminate cells, and then those cells get assigned a job, and they go to different places in the plant. And right at that point, which is the reason why leggy plants are so weak, is because that point gets very thin, and it doesn't get a lot of secondary growth. And so in a lot of plants, you'll have the shoot will lay over and then re-anchor itself and go up, but sometimes it doesn't do that, and then they dry off. So Steve Toonstra, or Steve from the garden, welcome to the garden. And who else is coming at you? So yeah, hey Steve, how's your garden doing? You getting enough water on it? So one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight, weeding in the garden. That's hard to say with plastic in your mouth. Weeding in the garden is a challenge, even in a drought like this. What's nice is you can come through with a hula hoe and you can really clean up weeds quickly. If you're trying to do it and the ground is wet, the hula hoe doesn't work very well. But in the dry ground, it really works quite well. And you can move pretty rapidly through getting the weeds out. Also, the weeds don't grow quickly because there's not a lot of water on them. And I have now figured out what people are talking about when they say that drip irrigation helps cut down on the weeds. And the reason is you can get the water right on the plant, and now you're going to weed just in that maybe 10-inch area, 5 to 10-inch area. And you're not going to get weeds, as many weeds in your lanes between your plants. So I think that's worked out somewhat well for us. But everything that I seeded, I think I'm going to have to just start over again. The kale is actually doing pretty well, and I think I planted my zucchini by seed. That seems to be doing all right. But my beets, Jules, I think of you every time I go out to those beets. I think I'm being punished for my pride, and my beets have really terrible this year. The germination was low, and I think it's because by the time we were able to get them to germinate, by the time we got enough water on them for them to germinate, the weeds were just too thick. We get this lamb's quarter, and the lamb's quarter, it'll come in as a very small cotyledon. It'll sit there for a little while, and then it rains, and that stuff will grow 5-6 inches a day. And if you get enough rain, it'll grow a lot faster than that, really. So Arizona Kid, hello, welcome to the live. Thank you for coming in. If you haven't been over to Arizona Kid's site, he's not a gardening site, but he goes on a lot of adventures, and it's kind of a neat site to sort of scoot around in and look at what he's doing. So after the live tonight, if you want to go check out his site, that'd be a great idea. And one of the things, though, as you're weeding your garden, it's important that you begin to identify. Now, you can identify the plants you're growing, and that's important. And that's a really good reason for growing inside of a cell. You're able to then really see what the cotyledons look like and what the early true leaves look like. But it's also important that you identify your weeds. And for example, today I found something that I see it often, but I don't see as much of it as I am this year. Mourning Glory. And this is wild Mourning Glory. It's a vine. It's much like bindweed, and very difficult to control. So, you know, Gail, out here, amaranth, there's 3 kinds of amaranth that grow out here. One is redroot amaranth, one is Palmer amaranth, and one is hydral amaranth. All of them are edible. None of them taste good. all of them are highly invasive. In fact, we'll start seeing, I already have seen some amaranth, but we'll start seeing amaranth in the early part of July. And like lamb's quarter, amaranth will grow 2-3 feet tall in a day or two. So I know there is an amaranth that people like to grow. It's not an unattractive plant, but I'd be very careful with amaranth because the varieties that we have here are extremely invasive. So I'd be careful with it. But as I was saying, let's see, I'm going to check the chat here. What time zone are we in? Asks Jesus is Lord. We're in Central Time. So right now it's 7:15. And well, Gail, yeah. So amaranth, I don't know that I'd call it a lettuce, but it is edible and it is a green, and people do use it on lettuce. But it just scares me because what we have here is extremely invasive. In fact, Palmer amaranth is on a watch list. When it shows up in my garden, I have to call the extension office and let them know that we have it. I have not seen any this year. I've seen a little bit of red root amaranth. It's easy to confuse that with lamb's quarter, but I've seen some. And then there's a weed this year, and maybe I'll try to put it on my video this week. It is something I've never seen before. It looks almost like a sweet potato slip, but it's not. It gets much taller and stands up very straight. So Marius Tulsa Fox says, I can only grow weeds. You know, if you can grow weeds, you can grow plants. But more importantly, if you can kill weeds, you can grow a garden. I think probably the thing that we do most often is weed the garden. Every day this week, I've spent multiple hours weeding the garden. So I'm gonna take a short break away from the camera. I'll be right back. That's better. That's as far as I could get with that. So I don't think I'll make a whole hour. And so one of the things that you want to try to do is identify the weeds that are in your area, in your garden, and identify the plants that you're growing. And this is why, you know, in my context, I grow everything in rows, and I have a lot of space between my rows. If I wanted to increase production, I could move my rows together quite a bit. Even with the equipment that I have, I could snuggle things together quite a bit and probably get 4, maybe 5 more rows across the field. But when it comes time to weed, it's nice to be able to get a cultivator down between the rows instead of just straddling the rows. Hello, Voon Child. Welcome to the live. Hey, Voon, I just found out the other day that you're not in Shed Wars anymore, and that's okay. I mean, I'm disappointed, but I understand that, you know, other things take precedent. But I'm still depending upon you to be a juror in the case of Bunky versus Will It Grow. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll have to watch Bunky versus Will It Grow on my playlist. So let's see. Another thing that we're doing this week, this will be our second application of fertilizer, and we'll be putting another application of trifluralin on our onions. That'll be the last Treflan application. Treflan, you would know it if you buy it in the box store. It's called Preen, and I like it in onions because it's difficult to get into the onions and really get them cleaned out. Because of the drought this year, I don't have the problem with grass that I normally have. We have some grass in the potatoes. I have grass, and I've got some grass in the onions, but it's not nearly as bad. So I have not made an application of clethodim yet, or synthoxidin, and I'm getting to the point where I might not be able to put synthoxidin on because a lot of plants need to have about 60 days before you harvest if you use synthoxidin or clethodim. So Jeff Turs, hello Jeff. You missed my teeth. I had them in, but I just couldn't go any further. Jeff was out to the farm yesterday, I think, and helped me weeding in the potatoes. I appreciate that. I got in there today and finished. So let's see. This Saturday, we're probably going to be planting our peppers, and I've got some eggplant that goes in. I got my pumpkins in today. I've got a lot more squash to plant by seed. We still have a window of time, probably another 3 weeks that we can be planting, but I'd like to get it all. I'd like to get it all in and just cultivate from now until probably the first weekend in July, and then start harvesting for the markets. And my corn, and this is the first time in many, many years that I planted corn, but my corn's about 6 inches tall. So I think I'll be knee high by the 4th of July. That's kind of the saying out here. Farm and HVAC, hello, welcome to the live. Thank you for coming by. I'm going to give another commercial to you. This Saturday, I am going to be preaching on Believe on the Cross channel, and I will be preaching on the first verse of the Bible. We're not going to take them verse by verse all the way through, but I am going to be preaching on the first verse of the Bible this Saturday at Believe on the Cross. We have preachers every night from 8 o'clock Eastern. I almost canceled my live today so that I could be there, but I wanted to. I almost canceled my live today so that I could be there, but I wanted to. I wanted to run my live just to see if I could get through an hour with my teeth in my mouth, and I don't think I can. So I think I will be doing it without the denture. So yeah, so as I started to say, we're going to be putting our second application of fertilizer on the potatoes and on the onions. The onions will get 14, 14, 14 and Treflan, and the potatoes will only get the 14, 14, 14. Gail, it's going to be at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central at Believe on the Cross. That's Tony's page or channel. So I encourage you to go there after this live is over. They go about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. And I encourage you to go there tomorrow night. And of course, Saturday I will be preaching, and then Country Homestead Preacher is going to preach on Sunday, and then we start through again. And last night, Shaky was the preacher, and he did a wonderful job. He's not a traditional preacher per se, but he had a great testimony, and he shared a lot with us about his walk with the Lord. And so I would encourage you to check that out in the replay, if not during the live. And that's over at Believe on the Cross. I think the entire channel name is Believe on the Cross. It might be Believe on the Cross Ministries, but I think it's Believe on the Cross. So let's see. Trying to catch up on the chat a little bit here. All right. Well, you'll have to catch the replay, Gail. You know, that's what happens with a lot of this.
Steve's got 2 plantings of corn.
Who does?
Steve.
Steve's, you already got your second plant. I wasn't going to plant corn, so I got mine in maybe a week later than I should have. The other thing, well, actually not, because I had to go talk to my neighbor to find out when his corn was going to tassel. I wanted to make sure that my sweet corn would not be tasseling at the same time as his field corn, because I didn't want to end up with field corn, and that can happen. I've had that happen in the past. But I'll probably plant, I'm in the clear now, so I'll probably plant one more planting of sweet corn. I've got some space there that I left for that, so I'll probably do that. I also planted my tobacco today. I planted out of the seeds that I got from the Arkansas woodcutter. I was able to get 6 very healthy tobacco plants, and so they're probably the best looking plants that I've got. My collards didn't make it. They got dried off, and that's okay. I'm going to direct seed collards. I think they'll be fine. Yeah, we did, Steve, we did, and I'll have them in a video probably towards the end of, well, maybe by Sunday or Tuesday. I'll try to get that up. I'm falling behind because I'm trying to do too many things right now, and we've had a lot of events that were against our desire, but that we had to do. So, but I did get those planted. I don't really feel as though they've grown that well. I mean, they're still alive, and they're going. I think they're going okay. I mean, they're still alive. That's all I can really say. They haven't grown though, but either have the onions that I got from Dixondale. They really haven't shown much growth. Now, my shallots are amazing, and so is my garlic. If you've watched the videos, you'll see that the garlic was I'm amazed. I think I've got another maybe 4 weeks, and then I'll be picking garlic. I have to cut all of my oh no, I can't think of what you call those, but the seed heads that are coming up on the shallots, I'm going to have to cut those. The scapes, I'm going to have to cut those. Now, I don't have any scapes on my garlic, which surprises me. I would expect that they would start to scape about now. But as I said, those Australian shallots are doing really well, which I'm glad, because they sell well and we really like them. So, and the other thing that's doing really well is my stick onions. We, you know, you have to be careful. We end up with, by the time we can go to market, we end up not having stick onions, but we end up having like a spring onion. And that's fine. You can still use the greens. and but you get a bigger bulb, and some people don't think of that as being a true green onion. But Gail says, Homer sent me the collard green seeds. Now I need to look up how to cook them. Well, Gail, I think the way I've had them cooked before, somebody took kerosene, put it in a coffee can, soaked the collards in the kerosene, and then fed them to me. But if you find a better way to cook them, let me know. Of course, Voon has a way to cook them. Yeah, Steve, I'm growing music as well, music garlic. And I think you and I might have planted pretty close to the same time last fall. So I am wondering why I haven't gotten scapes. Actually, it would be perfect for me if they waited another, say, 3 weeks and then put up scapes. But my Alabama Life says bacon. I think you're putting bacon in with your collards. No, Jeff Turr says, is it bad to have scapes? No, the scapes can be cut, and you can saute the little tip part of it. The whole shoot actually has flavor, but it's the tip has the same. It's what will in the next year, those scapes will be seeds. The first year, I think garlic is biennial. So yeah, you'd be in your second. So you should get seeds in those scapes that would be plantable if you let them go out the full course. If you want your garlic bulbs to develop, you have to cut the scapes off before they bulb and open up. Same thing really with shallots and onions. If you let those onion heads form, you're not going to get much of an onion, because most of the energy is going to go into the seed as opposed to into the onion itself. So, you want the scapes. That shows that you've got a healthy plant. Now, you'll only get scapes on about 50% of them, from what I understand. So Steve, or anyone in the chat, actually, has anyone ever grown elephant garlic, which is actually a leek? The reason I'm asking is 4 years ago, I believe, we planted elephant garlic, and it did not do well for us, but I think it was there was some mold on some of it when we got it. And so I broke the cloves off hoping I'd get good, but that's correct. Steve is mentioning, thank you, that only hard-neck garlic gets scapes, soft-neck garlic. And most of the time when you buy garlic in the store, you're buying soft-neck garlic because it will last longer. And I believe, well, this isn't really true. To a certain degree, you get larger cloves with soft-neck garlic, but I think you get more cloves with soft-neck, but I'm not sure it's true that you get bigger cloves. Yeah, so Vineyard Chicks ask, we saw Miss Lori at Lori's World pulling off scapes from garlic. Can they be cut with the scissors? You could. You do want to cut the scapes as low as you can. The further down you get, the thicker that, it's not a leaf, stalk, the thicker that stalk will be. And so if you leave that stalk up tall, there's a chance that before it heals over, you'll get rain down inside there, and then you could get some rotting, and that could cause some disease to form. Also, and you know, I'm assuming Walsh Farms, Tony, welcome to the live. I'm going to assume that many of you know this, but I'm going to say it anyway, just in case you don't. When you cut broccoli, if you're growing broccoli, when you cut broccoli, you want to cut the stalk at an angle. You don't want to cut it off flat. You want to cut it off at a fairly obtuse angle. And the reason you want to do that is so that when it rains, the water goes over the top of that instead of going down inside the stalk of the plant. Because if it does, then that'll rot out. Now, you might say, well, what difference does it make if I've taken the crown off? What do I care? Well, after you've cut the crown, you'll get florets. And florets are just smaller crowns. In fact, if you've got a long enough season with cabbage and you cut your cabbage head off, you'll get 5 or 6 more cabbages. They'll just continue to grow out of that stalk. We don't have a long enough season to let them grow out. And I don't know really for certain how big they'll get, but I have had them when we've had some late winters. I have had them grow large enough that we could cut them and eat them. So but there with cabbage, you want to I just take cabbage and twist it off. I used to cut it. Now I generally just twist it right off. It takes a little bit to do it, but I find that using a machete, I hack into it and then I hack into the ground, and then I have to sharpen the machete all the time. They do make a cabbage knife that kind of has a flat end on it so that you can use the end and just shoot it in, almost like an asparagus knife, only it doesn't have the fork on it. Oh, Walsh Farm says that's the second time today I heard to cut broccoli on an angle. Well, hopefully it was somebody really, really smart and on the cutting edge of gardening technology who told you. I don't know. Gail, I don't know. Gail's question is, my mixed gourmet lettuce is going to seed. Should I cut it and dry them or let them dry out on the stalk? My guess, Gail, and this is a guess because I don't really grow lettuce. I've tried a few times and I just don't seem, I don't seem to take it seriously enough, I think. But my guess would be to let the seed develop on there, and then at a point when you think it's done, take care of my Alabama farm life. Thank you for stopping by. Cut it and hang it upside down because that puts up that seed stalk. And so I would keep an eye on it. And when you think they're ready, cut them and hang them upside down and then put a pot underneath them because a lot of those seeds will start to fall out of there when it dries out. You can actually, with a lot of that stuff, you can leave it just dry in bundles. And then next year, when you're ready to use the seeds, you can just break the whole seed off. You can do that with peppers. I wouldn't do it with a large meaty pepper, but like that's what we did with cayennes, is we just left them on the plant. We pulled the plant. We actually picked them off and dried them separately, but we dried the seeds right in the peppers, and I had pretty good germination. I've got quite a few cayenne peppers that I'll be planting this year. So let me see if I missed anything in the live. So I think I'm pretty caught up. Again, for anyone who's come on the site in the last, in the last few moments, I will be live on Saturday night at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern on Believe at the Cross channel. And I will be preaching on Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. And sort of my working title, I haven't really titled it yet, but my working title is The Evidence for My Faith. So, you know, my belief in Christ is not a blind faith. It's not a childish faith. Hopefully it's a childlike faith, and I'll talk about that Saturday. But it isn't a blind faith. It's a faith based on evidence, based on things that I see in the world around me and things that have taken place in history. So that'll be on Saturday. If you stop by, I'd appreciate the support. Otherwise, go ahead and catch it on the replay. Yeah, Mary says Jason likes to hang and dry things. I hope that doesn't include you. But and let's see. Yeah, Gail, Steve has a good answer for your question. Last year, he said he let some dry on the plant and then cut it and put it in a large paper bag so that he could capture all the seeds. You just want to make sure that it's fully dry. Once a seed pod is fully dry, then you should have no problem keeping it. You know, it's not going to spoil on you then. Now, some plants do need to cycle. They need to thermal cycle. There's another word for that, but I don't remember it. And all you really have to do is put them in a refrigerator for a couple of days, and then they'll go through that thermal cycling. Don't put them in the freezer unless you know that they're cold hardy and can be frozen. Most things don't need to go through a frost. So, Mary, I'm going to have to look that up because offhand, I don't know Hebrews 11. I don't recall it just offhand. So I'm going to look that up after the live. Yeah, Mary, I have a wall of reference books that I've inherited or purchased along the way. And it's kind of neat to be able to look something up. Now with the internet, you can find, I barely look at that stuff anymore. I can go right to the internet and find all the information that I need. Stratify. Thank you, Jeff. I couldn't think of the word, but some seeds have to stratify. So I typically leave my seeds outside. I know a lot of, not outside, but in the barn. And I know a lot of people say, oh, you don't want to do that because you could get contamination. And I haven't had a problem, although I have some beet seeds that have gotten quite old. And so I was afraid that that was the problem that I was having with germination, was that they were old, about 6 years old. So I went and bought a packet of beet seeds and planted those new, and I'm having the same problem there. So I really think that my germination problem is one of not having enough moisture. So, and Jeff, after you left the other day, I went through that whole row of beets trying to find every one of them, and I wish I had just pulled the drip tape up, tilled the field, and replanted, because I ended up with about maybe 70 in that entire 200-foot lane. And oh, Sandy says the problem is she didn't plant them, I planted them. And she's right. Last year, she planted the beets. I've got it on video. So Tiffany Q2U, welcome to the site. Thank you for stopping by.
Beets are easy.
Who said that?
Me.
Oh, Sandy says beets are easy to plant. They are. The hardest thing about beets is you absolutely have to have a sterile bed to plant in. Best Yet Journey, hello, welcome to the live. You should have seen me at the beginning of the video. I had my top teeth in. I looked 10 or 12 at the most. But the beard is coming back. And I'm growing some hair up here, it looks like. I don't know. I see a couple up there. But, so, one of the benefits to dental struggles that I've had, I have lost 12 pounds or a little over 12 pounds in 2 weeks. So, and I tried to eat something with my teeth in, and I think I'm going to lose quite a bit more weight before this is all done. So, Voon says her beets start out strong, but she ends up having to pull them. Well, that's what you do. You pull them and eat the beets. No, if you get too much heat on beets, see, we don't really ever get terribly hot, and I keep my beets very well weeded for the first couple of weeks, and then I'll let sunflowers and some other things grow up along with them so that they add some shade to the plants. So in July and August, they don't get too bad. But I will say this, I'll plant 4 rows of beets in one lane, one bed. And last year we grew 4 rows. I double seeded every row, 4 rows, 75 feet long. This year I've got 200-foot long rows, but I didn't plant them as heavy. I think I'm going to till it under, start again, plant them really heavy and see what happens. So, Tiffany, I have eaten probably an orchard and a half of applesauce. And I eat a lot of mashed potatoes. I can't eat oatmeal. I love oatmeal. In fact, I had oatmeal for breakfast every day leading up to getting my teeth pulled, and I just can't manage them now. As my gums are getting tougher, they'll probably be better. Hello, Swafford Homestead. Welcome to the live.
And your chicks uses the beet tops to replace the Swiss chard in your soup.
Yeah, my dad used to eat beet greens on his salad all the time, and he used to love it. I didn't, but we might try that. Cream of wheat. I haven't had cream of wheat since I was a kid. I think I am probably going to find some cream of wheat at the store and make that. That'd be great. And I don't think I've ever had Fiorina, although I've heard of it. I did make sausage gravy day before yesterday, and that was really good. It was a little hard to manage, but it was good, and it gave me some protein that I've been lacking, I think. Don't worry about me disappearing. I could lose at least another 50, and it probably wouldn't even show. So Swafford Homestead says they cook beet greens like turnip greens, and that's we've done that as well. Yeah, you know, by my next live, I will not be able to say I haven't had cream of wheat since I was a kid, because I think I'm going to go to Walmart tonight and get some cream of wheat for my late dinner. Oh, Hebrews 11:1. Bear with me in a little foolishness, right? Isn't that what that is? What is it? Faith is. Yep. Is it faith is the evidence of things hoped for and the certainty of things not seen?
Now faith is being sure for what we hope for and the certainty of what we do not see.
Faith is the certainty of things hoped for and the evidence of things hoped for and the certainty of things not seen. What is it? My personal verse is Galatians 2:20, but I used to always jokingly say that it was 1 Corinthians 1:11, which is, bear with me in a little foolishness, but you are already doing that. Yeah, that's okay. So Garden State Gardener's in. Welcome to the live. Thank you for coming by. I guess, I told everyone I wasn't growing sweet potatoes this year, but we've changed our mind, and so we've got 6 sweet potato plants that we're gonna be growing, and they are I can't. Beauregard. So I've planted Beauregard before, and they've done reasonably well. The Jersey Jets did really well, but they didn't keep. They didn't keep well at all. And for those of you who watched my beet storage video last year, we are still able to eat the beets that we stored in the cellar last year. So by putting beets in damp sawdust or damp sand, I used wood chips, worked just fine. They lose a little bit of their flavor. They're not quite as good, and they do get a little bit, maybe they're a little mushier, but not when they're not before cooking. Once you cook them, what's that? Yeah, they get they get a little woody, I suppose. Probably is the case. Okay. Yeah, Tiffany says that she's been nibbling on the beet leaves. If I'm weeding my beets and I pull a beet out, I'll always eat the green off of it or eat the leaves. It's got a good taste and it's pretty nutritious. So Vineyard Chicks says, we had 2 nights of frost last week, and there are leaves with freezer burn on our tomatoes and cucumbers. Should we remove them or just let them be? If they're lower leaves, I would remove them. If, like on the tomatoes and the peppers, if they're lower leaves, you don't need them, I'd remove them, especially on the tomatoes. You could trim the frostbitten part off. I guess the concern would be that you might get some disease on the plant if you left them. I think I would just leave those leaves on there If they're, what'll probably happen if you leave them, they'll probably turn yellow, die on their own, and then you can just pluck them off of there. But yeah, I don't know that we didn't actually get a real frost. We stayed a little bit warmer than you did, I think. But it got cold enough that I lost some stuff in the hoop house. So not terribly bad, but Recyclable Homestead, welcome to the live. Thank you for stopping by. And Nunya, Texas on the back 20, welcome to the live. I guess people are coming in and I'm not seeing them. I apologize for that. Yeah, Steve, the Vineyard Chicks are about the same parallel as we are, but they're on the other side of the Lake Michigan. So it's generally even warmer there, but you guys got a burst of that northeast cold that came down. Yeah, no, I don't, we had one day that was like 39, didn't we, in the morning? But I don't think it didn't stay cool for very long. But I don't think we ever got below 39. I think that was as cold as we got. Yeah, I tell you, I'm always torn when I go to cover plants. I made a mistake. Was it last year? I covered I had some stuff in the hoop house and we were going to get cold weather and I covered it up. And then I got up, what was it? 2 years ago. And I got up early the next morning and went to work, forgot to uncover the stuff, and the frost didn't kill it. But leaving it covered, I actually overheated it quite a bit. Because what I do when I cover stuff in the hoop house, and I'm talking about cell trays, I'll put a dome on top of it, and then I'll put a blanket over the dome. Well, the problem is that it gets very hot inside the dome once it gets, warmed up. So I struggle sometimes whether I should cover it or not. Now, if you've seen my hoop house in the videos, it's a hay wagon. The hoop house is on top of the hay wagon, and I'm able to pull that into the barn. If the weather's going to get cold, I'll pull it into the barn, and that barn usually stays about 10 degrees warmer than the outside. So that helps a lot. But if you've ever tried to back up a hay wagon, it's a lot of work, so sometimes I just don't get it done. And I've had some problems in the past. But yeah, I was going to ask the same thing. Steve asked the Vineyard Chicks, how did the grapes do with that cold snap? And I imagine you got some damage there. I need to find somebody around here who grows grapes so I can get grape leaves. I like to put grape leaves in the pickle jars. Something about the grape leaf, if there's pectin or something like that in the grape leaf, that keeps the pickles a lot crisper and they snap a lot better. So 32 on Wednesday and 32 on Thursday. Well, it was quite a bit colder there than here. Okay. Jules, thank you for coming by. You have a great night. We're going to cut out of here in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to go over to Believe at the Cross, see if they're still going. Just one last reminder to anybody who came in late. On Saturday, I will be live at Believe on the Cross channel, and I will be speaking about the evidence for Christian faith and my personal faith, the evidence that convinced me not only that God created, but that Jesus is the Son of God. And so we'll be covering that this Saturday and the following Saturday live on Believe on the Cross Ministries. Vineyard Chick says, Chicken Johnny, we can send you grape leaves, but they might dry out in the mail. Actually, dried out is not a problem, really. And if you put 4 or 5 of them together with a damp towel and throw them in a Ziploc, they'll hold. So when I get about a week away or 2 weeks away from pickling, I'm going to remind you, and you can send me some grape leaves. That'll be great. That'll be a great collaboration. We'll do a video on it. One last thing before I say goodnight to everyone. Oh, Mary, you're welcome. Actually, Galatians is one of my favorite book in the Bible, and that's always a dangerous thing to choose. But John, not because I'm named after it, but because the book of John is really the record of the signs and wonders that Christ performed. And John was the apostle that Jesus loved. So he really has a deep friendship. Luke and Mark are reporting not from their own witness, but from the testimony of others contemporary with Christ, but they were not present. They took the word from many witnesses. And so you put Matthew and John, who were firsthand witnesses, against someone who interviewed people, and the stories are very, very similar. There's some nuances and details that are from different perspectives, but and some of the order is not necessarily exactly the same, which is based on what the writings are. It's not a problem. It would be expected. Well, actually, the Vineyard Chicks, that's an expression when we say the apostle that Jesus loved. He loved all of them. He loves all of us. But there was a special relationship that Christ had with John. And I often wonder, John was the only of the 12 disciples who, well, of course, Judas took his own life. 10 of the disciples and the one that was chosen to replace Judas, they all were martyred for their faith. And John died of natural causes. At least that's what we understand. But he was in prison on the island of Patmos, and he was committed to heavy labor there. But I would say that John is probably the most complete of the Gospels in terms of giving the good news, the message. I still read the book of James. I love the book of James because it's just common sense. It's just words to live by kind of thing. But Galatians is a powerful book that Paul talks about what it takes and what it means to live a Christian life, and what it means to put yourself aside and let Christ live in you. And of course, that really is what Christianity is. It's not a religion, it's a relationship. God is not an artifact to be worshipped. He's a living being who still today has fellowship. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit fellowship together with one another, and they fellowship with the church. And so more on that this coming Saturday. Yeah, that's the Vineyard Chicks responded to my comment. I'm not going to read it. You can read it. But yeah. humility is one of those funny characteristics, because if you do it right, nobody knows you're doing it. And on that, I'm Chicken Johnny, and Mitzer Shem. I'll see you again. Eat your vegetables, brush your teeth, and hopefully I'll see you all Saturday. If not, we'll see you next week, Thursday night. And we'll have a couple of videos hopefully coming up this week. And we'll see you next time. Y'all take care of yourself.